Hello, and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 127 for the week of December. Jesus.
December, shit.
October 7th, 2013.
Back to the future.
And the Red Sox and Rays are tied at the bottom of the 8th bases loaded
Really?
with the Rays.
Really
So,
going to put baseball stats on here now?
Game 3, baby. Let's do it. Red Sox are up 2-0.
Oh, wait.
So who are you, and what happened to our normal podcast host?
Can I be Ryan right now? Can I be Ryan how he is usually when it's about sport? Well, you know, Ryan is at this game where they play with a ball and a stick. It's
Hey,
so
man,
stupid.
Stickball's good stuff, man. Okay, I don't know your basketball thing.
Yeah, exactly. See, there's Ryan. See, I just brought him back.
Here's my problem. I have so much crap to do in my life. You know, being born in Boston, and outside of Boston, and growing up in the East Coast,
Okay, hold on a second. Listeners, be warned: a Boston accent might slip out in this conversation.
Yeah, it's a wicked accent. You're forced to love the Red Sox from birth. So my day-to-day life doesn't allow me to watch many games. So I keep up with them as they go through the season, but I'm not one of these guys watching games all the time. You know, going to the bar.
Wait, you're being forced? That means the bullies won. They scarred you for life. You know, you cared about baseball. They flushed you down the toilet till you cared about baseball.
You were forced from childbirth to love the Red Sox and all the Boston teams, really, but specifically the Red Sox.
There's probably a baby picture of him with the Boston Red Sox bib at some point.
I'm sure there is. So when it gets to the the playoffs and postseason and stuff like that, I tend to pay a little bit more attention because we're kind of down to the end. So, or if it gets to the end of the season and there's still there's only a couple games and they need to win them, then I'll start to pay a little more attention. But yeah, who's on this podcast? I'm Ryan Higgins. Who else is here?
Brock Sager.
Ryan Higgins from Alternative Reality. Earth 2 Ryan Higgins.
Bryce is also here.
What up? It's Toby. Back from the dead.
And Charlie.
Yeah, almost dead.
Yeah, almost dead.
The Walking Dead was last week's episode.
Actually, the speed walking dead because he was running
dead.
to get to the toilet.
The puking dead.
The puking dead.
No, Omar. I don't know. He thought he was showing up, but he just didn't show up. So Omar's like that, though. You never know where he's going to end up. So what can you do?
Mysterious man.
Yeah, yes. Toby, last week we did not get a chance to hear your thoughts on the first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then Bryce, you were not here, so we did not get to hear your thoughts on.
And I have quite a few thoughts.
First episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And
As you may.
Now we've had a second episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to watch last week.
Which we'll segue in.
On the Wednesday. Last Wednesday. So I figure...
Last Tuesday.
Or Tuesday, I mean. So I figure we have... let's start the episode talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And we'll get into some questions. We have a few common things to talk about. But
well, Bryce, you did these wonderful openings, so I leave.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We're going to be here for an hour.
Yeah, I'm surprised, Tobias, that you're letting me go first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Go for it.
If we're still here in a couple hours, then I'm not done talking. So
I get a text from Bryce. Okay,
This is a better intro.
should this just be the intro? I get a text from Bryce. Let me see if I got it here. Hold on, let me find it.
I have it if you don't, you bastard.
No, I do. I got a text from Bryce. Let me find it. It's a fascinating radio, by the way, too.
I think this should be the picture for this week's podcast. I have a feeling.
All right.
This was on last Tuesday. Fucking hell is his first text. His second text a minute later was, I want to disagree with you so bad, but it is a bad show. And that's all he had to say. Like, he didn't say anything else. That's all he said.
So, okay, let me just, give a little contextual
I don't want to beat up on
background.
Charlie on this either, too, because Charlie and I know Omar liked it last week, but
So so after I slept on it, I was, I had a drink or two, and I was hoping that it was going to be a better night's entertainment than it was. I mean, look, a couple things. After I slept on it, I realized, as I told you later, that it wasn't as bad as when I was texting you. I was texting you just out of sheer anger. I don't watch a lot of network TV, and that's the problem. Is that I'm not used to this watered down garbage with low budget and bad acting and with bad actors and cliche everything.
Well, that's where you're wrong. I think network TV doesn't have to be like that. Radio shows are just fine.
One of the examples I used...
No, but it is.
I can't remember.
No, there's other shows that are fine. They don't have that watered down...
Yeah, I can't remember if it was in the Geek Box or here, but I was talking about Hannibal. The difference between... There could not be that big of a difference between an 8 o'clock slot and a 10 o'clock slot. That they can get away with to get on Hannibal, which is just crazy.
That is a very like the images in that show, while I love that show, are sometimes hard to watch.
It is. Like that, if Hannibal ran as is on Showtime or HBO, I would be like, yep, that makes sense. This seems like a show that should be on a channel like this. And then, like you're saying with S.H.I.E.L.D. up being, I think as a lot of us feel, so watered down.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of thoughts I have on both sides. I really do. There are a lot of elements that I like, in spite of myself. I like what it's doing for the genre. When the first X-Men movie came out, a lot of people didn't realize the impact that it would have on the drama. And I mean, WB and Warner Brothers in general have been doing a much better job with the DC side of TV shows. But for Marvel's first foray, hopefully this opens the doors, especially the fact that they're able to keep it within the continuity. And you listeners, when Ryan gets to his part of the review, you'll hear words like Torchwood, and you'll hear, Arrow and Flash are going to be in DC's continuity. Speculation aside, I think that Marvel's doing a great job of opening the door.
I'm pretty sure Torchwood will not be in DC continuity.
No, it'll be in Ryan's review. He will also talk about how it'll be.
Hopefully you don't compare it too much. I don't want to see a shirtless Coulson running around. And
wouldn't that be great, though? So anyway, I know that. So Mr. Higgins does not like how jokey Agent Coulson is. He did say that there were less jokes. For my part, I don't mind Coulson. I mind the stereotypes that are just slapping me in the face. I mind, in my opinion, the bad acting. I mind the watered down. Ryan and I were talking about, for example, in episode 2, they find this mysterious space object. There is no reason that can't be some, Skrull artifact or Kree artifact. Like, they just could have name-dropped those and not had them anything to do with anything that's ever been in comics other than just the name that they drop. But they don't. They just call it...
They said it was from, like, the World War II Tesseract experiments.
Okay, but this is where I get confused as all hell, because when the fuck did that thing get into the Mayan temple? Because they said it was older than the Mayan temple.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
I'm spending time, I guess.
That's Brock 1, Charlie 0.
Well, anyway. they said it was a Chitauri piece, right? Am I wrong?
No, they said it was powered by the Tesseract.
Yeah, it was
from the basically Captain America.
Cube?
Yeah, it has Tesseract energy in it, but it's from World War II. But it's older than the Mayan temples.
The Mayan temple is new.
Look,
that's all it is. The Mayan temple is new. Like it came later.
It's those new Mayans. Yeah.
Well,
so it doesn't really matter though. My point is that they're not making this for us, as you guys discussed last week accurately. They're not making this for us, and I kind of think, why add all these hot words if they're not going to make it easy for us to understand? If they had said, in my opinion, it was a Skrull artifact or a Kree artifact, then whatever, that would have been awesome. Aliens on Earth before the Mayans or whatever.
It's a good way to introduce Guardians and start getting kind of space-esque things presented into the Marvel universe, or at least the Marvel movie TV universe, where we have this alien technology that comes into play more than just the Chitauri.
Right, I don't think that it's going to be ever mentioned again, ever. The artifact from episode 2. So anyway, I think that Sky chick drives me crazy. She's so awful, and I just, it's network TV. So this is the thing, is that for network TV, I do like it. I really like what they're doing. I think of my nephew and niece who are younger, 6 and 8, and they. They love it because it's, action, but not so much blood or violence that they can't watch it, but still they're getting introduced to this whole universe with the Marvel superheroes, whether or not they make an appearance. So I have a lot of hate for it, just in the predictability, the bad acting, the low budget of everything. I know that it wasn't made for comic fans.
I jump in here real quick. It does feel particularly low budget, doesn't it? Am I crazy?
Yeah. Oh, like that gun chase or the car chase with the gun battle, it was like, oh my god, was this filmed in my backyard?
Yeah, there's a couple scenes where I thought the action was pretty decent, especially in the first episode.
Yeah.
But man, in that second episode, it was like, well, here's episode 2, and we're already in the set.
I kind of feel, instead of spending all the money on that plane set, they should have just spent the money on locations and effects.
Well, I mean, we talked about
because
this.
It's not needed yet.
We talked about this last week. Burn Notice has more realism to its special effects than this show does.
Yeah, but we can't compare that. That's cable show.
Yeah.
You got to compare it to
right
person of interest,
something like A-Team,
Blacklist.
which you're a huge fan of. I mean, obviously they do a lot of that stuff on location.
A-Team is awesome. It's like they shoot everybody up and no one bleeds. It's awesome.
Wait, you mean the A-Team from back in the day?
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't count either.
The new one.
Oh, that one is awesome.
No,
that's
I'm not.
a movie.
Did I say A-Team?
You're thinking about
You did,
Hawaii
and we're all
Five-O.
confused.
Hawaii Five-O. I'm sorry. I say A-Team. I meant Hawaii Five-O.
Oh, they shoot all kinds of shit up on that one too.
Yeah, but I'm saying, isn't that shot mostly in Hawaii?
Yeah.
And on location?
Yeah.
And good good effects,
Yeah.
and good
Yeah.
scenery.
No,
and
it's shot
everything?
beautifully. It's just the stories all suck. There's a different argument there, but it's shot beautifully. I mean, all the action looks great.
So, yeah, I measure TV shows on how many times I roll my eyes during it. For example, the Dexter series finale, I will not spoil for those people that haven't seen it yet, but holy shit, did I roll my eyes so many times during that. It was the ending that just, what are you doing? So anyway, this got
You didn't stop rolling your eyes?
4.5 out of 5 Bryces on the eye-rolling scale, both on episodes 1 and 2. And look, I really want to like this show, and I'm trying to give it all the credit I can for, being a network show, being an 8 o'clock, and not being for me, being for, a younger audience, a more, or I should say less comic, nuanced audience. I don't mind the jokes, and I don't mind Coulson. The predictability and the bad acting and the low budget, I'm trying to like it. I cannot.
I think the problem is if you're not going to go based on the characters, so, we're going to have all these references, we're going to have big actors and stuff like that, then you need to have a good spy show, which
it's not.
It also isn't.
Not.
Right.
So it doesn't have...
Hashtag person of interest.
It doesn't have...
Hashtag the blacklist.
It's not just constant comic references, and even when it is, it still isn't, because it's like...
Right.
The movie stuff, which, I mean, I guess that's what it is, but it's not quite the same. But then it doesn't have it, but then it's just not all that good either. So, if it was well, yeah, Smallville may not have been the best show on Earth, but it was chock full of references of great comic stuff, especially in the later seasons, right? So to me, I'm it's hooked me because of that. I'm still in it.
Well, and I mean, the earlier seasons, had that Monster of the Week formula, and I mean, they were introducing different power sets, and I mean the graphics and the special effects weren't
I gave up.
Fantastic.
Smallville had better graphics in season 1 than S.H.I.E.L.D. has now.
I gave up on Smallville season 1. I never actually finished watching it. I gave up because I was like, nah, this is stupid, and I came back in the second season. And I'll stand behind seasons 2 and 3 of Smallville as being actually
4,
really,
5,
really
and
good.
6 are garbage.
It starts to slip after that, but then they go really DC Universe after that, and that's when I start to get really more interested again.
Charlie knows all about it. He's my reference for that.
Yeah.
Are you done? Or
Well, yeah.
right. I'll let you finish. No.
So
Bryce,
anyway, my point is that I think that they could have done a lot of things differently to make it better. And I'm still rooting for it. I'm going to watch tomorrow night's episode. I just I don't have a lot of hope for it.
Do we have a episode count for season 1? Is it getting 22 episodes?
It's
or 13?
a full now.
Okay.
Everybody's saying it's guaranteed.
Yeah,
it hasn't actually officially been announced, but everybody's saying it's.
But I mean, they
done
haven't
deal.
said official.
Yeah, but everybody says it's a done deal, though.
Yeah.
Which surprised me. Sleepy Hollow was actually meant for a limited series.
Yeah.
Now it's getting a full pickup.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't even like that.
That's not what I heard.
That's today.
Well,
I just read it today.
They renewed it for season 2, but they didn't do the full pickup, is what I read.
Oh, I read that it was planned as a limited series, and they decided to pick it up for a full season. But it's the internet, so nothing could be real.
So
because it was the first show renewed, but they didn't pick up the back 9 as last I read.
All right, so last
Maybe
thing I want to
they
say.
just did. I don't know.
Sorry.
Yes, go for it.
Samuel L. Jackson. I think it was either Ryan talking about it on the Geek Box or it was the voices in my head, but it was how bad was that? Or not bad. I love Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, but how obvious
you questioned where all the
was it?
special effects budget went.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So they have Samuel L. Jackson. It might have been you that said this on the Geek Box. They have Samuel L. Jackson come in for one day, and they film
a day.
6
that
different.
was 2 hours.
Well, hold on. So they film
20 different scenes of him just yelling at Coulson.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So
I recorded that before I even saw it, and it totally was exactly what I thought it was going to be.
It was such a useless scene, just oh, Coulson, you silly bastard, and Coulson's oh, you got me, and it was thanks for adding absolutely nothing except a huge minus sign to the budget. Anyway,
Wait, okay. A huge minus sign to the budget is a helicarrier goes down. This is a plane. Like, if Coulson had, like, crashed a helicarrier, I would have been like,
no,
okay.
we're talking about Sam Jackson's pay.
Yeah, I guarantee you they got him in for a day. They filmed 20 scenes with him, right, of just like, oh, and here's Sam Jackson doing a quick thing with someone, and they can just insert them wherever they want, and that's going to be like the special guest every week.
Yeah.
You know, if the after credit scene every week is just Sam Jackson, that's going to stop bringing people in pretty quick.
Well, the second episode had a pretty drastic drop from the first episode. I mean, it premiered really high.
I almost think you should have. I mean, I hate that they even pulled Sam Jackson in, but I almost felt they should have pulled him into the pilot episode. Yeah. I almost feel like they should have.
There was nothing in the pilot that made me connect to the movies, and then when they bring him in for the second episode, I'm like, well,
I feel like they should have pulled in Sam Jackson at the end of the pilot.
They tried to connect you with Maria Hill.
And not enough.
But it didn't work.
That's not don't work.
No, there's no reason Robert Downey Jr. was not in the pilot.
Except for money.
But okay. Well, then one of the other guys. But you know what I mean?
They might have to pay the other guys more.
I mean, they probably could have gone Chris Evans. I think he's down enough to actually just show up and do this.
Yeah, for a minute, towards the end of the episode.
Or not even like you were saying in the other podcast, the Hulk CG or the Iron Man suit. It's like you don't even need one of these actors if you can't get them, which, by the way, you should. But even if you can't, you can CG like the Iron Man suit in for the pilot. Like, what? Why didn't they do that?
I wonder if there's a rights issue, because even if the pilot, the references to Hulk and Iron Man, they're very, like, faded. They're not clear. It's stuff in the background. Even the Hulk was like, I mean, that was a quick shot of that.
They're free to use it however they want. Disney owns ABC.
I don't know. There might be some contracts with the actors. I don't know.
Yeah, and the way that...
because you got the CG Hulk in there. You got the suit.
He's right about the contract with the actors. A lot of
the
times,
actors themselves, not necessarily the costumes.
Well, no, a lot of times when you use
Hulk.
stock footage from something, depending on the length, determines how much they get paid for it.
This is how asinine Disney is with their own copyrights?
This is how contracts work with actors.
Yeah. I mean, they literally get into this. If you use stock footage for this amount, you pay me X amount. If I, like... They monetize this shit down to, if I'm here for this long, you pay me this amount. If I'm here for this long, it goes, like, all of that is monetized even from, like, flashback perspective.
Yeah. So anyway, boom, drops mic. Toby's turn.
All right. I wish I did this last week because a lot of this has struck out of my memory at this point already. I think I agreed a lot of Ryan's points because me and Ryan talked about it at great length right after the pilot, and we agreed on a lot of things. Coming in, I really, really would have liked to seen a Torchwood knockoff.
I didn't say it this time.
God damn it.
I really did. No, I mean, I really did. I mean,
but that's what we were expecting.
It is. I mean, especially looking at the trailer. I mean, that's what I'm expecting. And Ryan, yes, I was excited about S.H.I.E.L.D. However, my excitement dropped when they announced that wasn't a Cage or that wasn't a Rage. Whatever. I would have preferred that. I didn't really want a Monster of a Week guy. I thought in the pilot it was a perfect opportunity for them to build the bigger not DC universe, Marvel universe right away. I mean, if that was Rage or Cage, I thought that would have been, even if it was for just the episode, that would have been awesome. Like, drop one of the Marvel characters in, like a C or D lister. And I think you would have had a really awesome pilot right off the bat. It doesn't have to be a guy that shows up the next episode. It's just like that hint of that bigger universe would have been better than the Monster of the Week kind of thing.
And I mean, let's be honest. If it was the exact same episode, but that guy's name was Rage,
that would have been awesome. It's still bad, but it would have been better.
It would have been a little bit better because they're acknowledging the bigger Marvel universe, but it still would not have been a better episode.
No, well, here's my problem.
I can forgive it a little bit more because of they're using established characters.
Yeah. Well, I lost you here for a second. But anyways, I don't like the characters. I always felt Coulson was fun in small doses. Seeing Coulson all the time, I have a little harder time with. I still like the guy.
That was my issue with Coulson, is that
he was a side character that's now the main character.
Right. Internet jokes aren't funny when it becomes like a real... You can't take... something that people like on Tumblr and turn it into an actual product because it's not actually that good.
Yeah, and here's the thing: he was good is because of the timing, right? And this is where I loved Whedon's work for years now. Is his timing with his jokes were just like so good that I felt like they were a little overdone in this one. It's almost too much Whedon, and it's Whedon, so I trust him. I mean, he hasn't let me down so far yet. I mean, I just don't like the pilot, but I feel like things will pay off in the future, and he's really good at setting things up and having it net together. So already in the second episode, I thought things were a little bit better, but I thought this was too much Whedon. And the other thing is, so they keep setting up the show to be Coulson and his handpicked team of people, and I feel like if he gets handpicked people, this is the best he could come up with.
Great point.
Yeah, I mean, seriously? I mean, if they said Fury went to Coulson and go, hey, you got to do this thing on the side. I got no budget for you. You're on your fucking own. You go scrap some kids together. I'll buy that. I'm done, right? But if it's S.H.I.E.L.D. with full its money going, you get your handpick at people, and he picks like 5 kids and a Wolverine Chinese chick.
Well, they literally say in the second episode.
No, she's Chinese.
In the
you
second
mean the
episode,
older chick?
Yeah,
sorry.
she's Wolverine, basically, in the team.
Correct me if I have the quote slightly
she's
off.
She's a badass.
But basically, he says, "Oh yeah, this is the team building mission." Meaning they're telling you in the episode that this is the episode where the team comes together.
There wasn't even really there wasn't really. I mean, the pilot wasn't even a recruitment episode. I mean, if you look at like team comic books, or at least.
They kind of recruited Sky.
Well, they did, but it's like you get... I mean, we see the agent, I'm a solo guy, I don't work on a team, and then we see Sky.
See, that's where the Whedon humor came in. When Coulson came in with the truth serum, and he did him, I was like, that's classic Whedon right there.
But you get this... Like, we weren't really introduced to these characters. We only saw 2 of the characters outside of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that was the main agent guy. And
that's fine. I mean, we're only getting an intro to him, but
like you said, it's team building. I'm like, what, the end of the first episode wasn't team building? It's like we've gotten 2 team building episodes.
Well, the whole season is going to be team building.
Only the second episode was when they had to work.
Officially,
as a team.
It was officially team building. Yeah,
but you're right. They did say something along the lines of like, "This is the team," like tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
When it was like so painful to be like, okay, as I roll my eyes, this is where they have to work as a team to defeat the guys that they didn't see this coming. The guys that they brought on the airplane with them are bad guys.
The clearly obvious bad guys that are going to turn on them.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like how they keep talking about their own roles. Like the one leader guy keeps going, I'm the guy trained for this. I'm supposed to lead everybody and understand everything. I'm like, I just don't see it. And, Sky as hot as she is, Hoppa, go Hoppas.
Hey, Hoppas can't do any better.
Dude, she's, well, there's a music video you should see. That's pretty bad.
We'll talk about that offline.
Yes.
I think we should do a time check. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is taking up way more time than it deserves.
Yeah.
Finish your statement. Finish your statement. I just want to do a time check.
Keep going.
Keep going, Toby.
She's very uninteresting. I mean, Ryan's already pointed out she's Chloe number 3. It's fine, whatever.
So annoying.
I as hot as the 2 scientists are, they're too beautiful for me. And not believable as scientists. She smiles way too much, and she's far too cute for her. The guy is kind of funny, but I wish he was more of an alcoholic. Maybe make him a little more interesting, but whatever.
Well, it's the male and female versions of the same character.
Clean. Everybody's so clean cut. I mean, I'm sure something down the.
Well, Toby, we can't tackle alcohol because we couldn't do it with Iron Man, so we're not going to do it now.
The only interesting right now lady is Ming-Na Wen with being the pilot, being the sort of Wolverine badass on the team so far. She's the only interesting character on it.
She's the black chick from Firefly.
Oh, dude! Every one of these characters maps to another one of, and that's the thing.
But she's the only interesting one, and
that's always what happens.
If there was a handpicked team, she would have been the only one that made sense.
Yeah.
So second episode a little bit better, but again, casting calls. I mean, like they're in the Amazon. There's a hot, beautiful woman that's the leader of the bad guys. There's just too many beautiful people in this show. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Have you been to South America? There's no way they're going to let some
like,
hot... I mean, I'm sorry, but they're
bitches.
just not going to let some hot Latin chick be the general under all these...
lost all of our female listeners.
I understand that you have to break stereotypes, but in doing so, you've made your own stereotypes.
Yeah. Second episode, a little bit better. I told Ryan this up front, and I told Charlie this too. If it wasn't a Marvel Universe show, if it wasn't a Whedon show, I would not continue watching this at all.
I wouldn't watch episode 1
at all. But I trust in Whedon, and there's the I think Ryan said Whedon shouldn't be in the show. No, he pays off in the end, and he always has so far, and I don't see why not. And it's a Marvel show. I'll keep on watching. I really do want it to be better, but I do think it's maybe for a family audience, and it's probably not what we expected. So too bad.
I agree. In Whedon we trust.
Yes, in Whedon we trust.
In Higgins hate we do not trust.
No.
Now, Charlie, I'm feeling bad because we beat up on this episode pretty bad. But what do you think of the second episode?
The way I felt after the second episode is summed up in one sentiment.
Oh.
I am going to stop defending the show right now till it actually gets better.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I mean, when we talk about budget, though, I mean, Charlie and I love The Blacklist.
Yeah.
And it's got to be on a similar budget, and S.H.I.E.L.D. might even have more. And The Blacklist looks far more amazing. And I'm sure Spader is carrying the damn show.
I hated The Blacklist.
I loved
hated
it.
The Blacklist?
Dude, Joel Carnahan is the fucking man. But anyways,
Okay.
I must hate network TV unfairly.
it's all right.
That's what I think it is. I think that I'm not fair to network
You're
TV.
just
That's what
a
it
cable
is.
TV snob now.
Well,
I think that I am.
No, but on the budget, the personal interest.
I love person of interest.
Fantastic, though. I mean, look at the stuff. I mean, when you have little things, I mean, when you don't have the budget, you want the stories to be that good, right? You want explosions to matter, not because you can have explosions. So I feel like the story's just got to brush up.
well, I think the big difference between when you talk about Burn Notice, you talk about Person of Interest, you talk about The Blacklist, is they're still very, very grounded in what would be considered the non-fantastic, so you can get away with a lot more. Because, I mean, literally, you think about it, most of the sets and whatnot that they've used in The Blacklist are nondescript restaurants.
Yeah, but this is my point, though. In S.H.I.E.L.D., they could have easily done a nondescript warehouse. And maybe add like the plane in like season 2 when they got a little more money and a little more footing
Great point.
together.
I agree with you that they should have gone smaller, but at the same time, they're
could use
trying
that Winnebago.
to follow up from like Avengers and everything with the big
Do a whole
helicarrier.
S.H.I.E.L.D. is Black Ops, right? It would have been fine.
What they should have done is given them one section of the helicarrier that they supposedly use stock footage from the movie of the helicarrier, and not really highlighted this as a separate.
Now, let's be
mobile-
honest here. The helicarrier wouldn't cost them that much money. It's already done. They just got to render it.
Well, as I said, they
Yeah.
use stock footage, render it, just build one set that's supposedly on the helicarrier.
Oh, I see what you're
with
saying. Okay, I'm down with that.
I mean, or they could even.
detention areas and whatnot, and sure, give them some sort of new footage at the
But
end
then
of
it's
the first
even more-
episode with the flying car going back to the helicarrier.
Yeah.
And
But
that
then
would have
if it's a
been-
helicarrier, even more so, these kids look like kids more than ever.
well,
They should just done a Runaway show. I would have bought that.
See, the problem right now with
That would've been
the
awesome.
way they've
Yeah.
dealt with
Can we put
most
Sky
of
there?
the characters
I'm down for that.
is when you deal with Sky and you deal with all of this, where they're kind of beating you over the head saying, well, these people are intelligent, they know what they're doing, but they have not shown that any of them actually know what. Like, they've shown some stuff off scene that somehow they managed to come up with the serum that realistically Tony Stark should have already had because he cured Pepper in Iron Man
yes.
3.
Yes, thank you. Yes, Charlie.
So it's just, they're kind of force feeding you that, of course, somehow they will come up with it, but they have not shown any kind
And
of
if that was Luke Cage or
intellectual
Rage,
leap
that would have been better. They didn't have to
going
go there.
forward, basically. Well, no, because if they had made Luke Cage a weird
No. They
abomination,
wouldn't even go into that whole
But
storyline.
realistically, I agree with you. They should pull more from the greater Marvel universe, because I think the
Right.
one real hope this show has for giving you something epic is to establish enough Marvel U characters that
Yeah.
when you get
Like-
to the finale, you can pay off all of
Wouldn't
that.
it be cool if Sky gets like arrested and Matt Murdock is the lawyer? I would be so fucking down
Oh,
for that.
Ben Affleck show.
Well,
Oh wait, no.
but the problem is they have to consciously decide that these.
No, they
this-
don't. They already replaced Don Cheadle with the
No,
War Machine.
but
So
they
it's
need-
obviously they don't care
They
enough.
have the way you can get away with that is you have one guy in one movie. Nobody's really talking right now about replacing Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man because nobody would accept that. If you do an entire TV series that's supposed to be attached to something and go, well, now that we're going to do a Daredevil movie, we're going to recast Matt Murdock, people would be up in arms. I mean, there were enough people upset over recasting Hulk, you still bring it up that they recast that. Do you realize how big the fan outrage would be if you recast after they had been in a decent amount of content?
I mean, I loved everything that you said except for that last thing. I don't think that replacing Ben Affleck, people would care.
I don't think people care about replacing Ben Affleck. I'm saying if they brought in Matt Murdock into S.H.I.E.L.D. and he was in a number of episodes,
right,
and then they recast the part in a Daredevil movie,
right?
I think people would have a problem with that.
Right, so the solution is, as we've all, I think, talked about in different capacities before, is to bring the Luke Cages and the Rages that people will never have movies about them. The C's and D's, sorry, Brian McAbendis, but Luke Cage is not an A.
That's sort of my point, is if you establish a Luke Cage, you establish a Rage, you establish a Iron Fist, you establish...
Well, I still think they should have done Heroes for Hire instead of S.H.I.E.L.D. It would have been a lot more interesting.
Characters, when you get to the season finale, when you get to the big thing where they have contacts they can call in, you get that big epic feel that they kind of went for.
You get the
with
Avengers assembling.
Exactly.
Right.
Which they can do on this show without the Avengers.
Right. And they absolutely should have done that. Anything more than what they're doing.
I think talking about a point you made earlier about the Blacklist and Burn Notice and stuff and all this realism in the shows is that we watch those shows and we know they're on location. We watch this show and we know they're on a back lot. Because the alleyway is fake, because the restaurant that they go to is fake. Like they like you said, they couldn't rent out a space.
I actually think those places are real, but that's me.
Well, that's the thing. I think, as Toby's always talking about, there are plenty of vacant buildings
the whole
that you can rent out for a day.
The whole opening scene of the pilot was shot on Disneyland lot or Universal Studios.
I felt like down the street was the How I Met Your Mother bar.
But that's kind of where I kind of feel like I didn't mind it so much in the pilot in a way, because I understand to do the whole climbing the building, you needed a little more control over what you would have renting out a space. But that being said, I think they're trying to rely too heavily on going for the fantastic that you get from the movies without a movie budget to pull it off.
Hence where the story has to be just so much stronger.
And as you said, when it comes to Whedon, I have trust in the long run. There's a overall plan that they'll get to, assuming that it lasts long enough.
Well, there's the whole Tahiti.
See, that
I kind of like it.
To me, that's the most interesting part of the show is the fact that they're building up a mythology and some questions that will eventually get answered.
Now,
but again, it all is based on this idea of if you have enough time, this will all pay off, which is very Whedon to do.
Yes.
But
then, and a lot of times we didn't get to finish his shows either.
He's always got a chance to finish it off, though, in a way. Out of everybody, Angel got a series finale. Not everybody was happy with it.
Yes,
but it
hands up
got
right here.
But it got a finale. Buffy got a finale. Firefly got the Serenity movie.
Buffy,
Dollhouse got a final X amount of episodes.
I feel like Buffy, Angel, Firefly, they all had their special effects, and some of those vampires looked a little silly. But I think they balanced it really well out in the story, and I just feel like they're not doing it right in this.
It's like watching Arrow. I'm seeing half of this, the Lex Luthor mansion, because they're reusing the same set, but it's they're shooting from a different direction, but in that show, despite it being fake, like you said, the story is a lot better in Arrow. I don't necessarily need
better acted too.
Well, the way I look at this
there's a lot of pretty people in that show too, and a lot of shirtless people.
Nobody just doesn't like pretty people.
Most of the shows that I love keep building their mythology, keep building the idea of where they're going, and right now I think what a lot of us are raging against is
they're not building.
It doesn't feel like they're building, that they're going anywhere right now on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And as you said, I don't feel Whedon would brainchild a show that he didn't see a going somewhere. So I kind of figure eventually it may be episode 9, it may be episode 12.
I think Whedon has a plan, and there might be that flagship
eventually,
episode.
I'm sure I will come back to this and be like, holy crap, Ryan, did you watch last night's S.H.I.E.L.D? And he's like, I haven't watched it for the past 6 weeks. And I'm like, God damn it, Ryan.
That's all we want.
I mean, I'm fine if it gets better. I mean, I'm not going to bury it after 2 episodes, but 12, that's a little bit of a tougher thing to swallow. I mean, Fringe is always the show that I claim that I watched 5 or 6 episodes, and I was like, this is terrible. And I stopped watching it, and everyone's like, but episode 7 is when it becomes so good, and it totally changes. And I'm like, well...
Season 2.
I'm like,
Season 2 is when it becomes phenomenal.
I'm like, I tried. They lost me.
Charlie, you're a fellow Angel Watcher. I feel like if we done Heroes for Hire... And
I
then
should
S.H.I.E.L.D.
not have mentioned this.
No. But no.
We're going to move on after this, so...
Follow me with this real fast. If they done Heroes for Hire, and S.H.I.E.L.D. was that big law firm, unquote, the mysterious people that keep controlling things or want to tag you and be the government, I thought that would have been a more interesting show.
That would have made S.H.I.E.L.D. more of the Black Ops, like, kind of behind the scenes.
And they could have spun it off into that show afterwards. I mean, built the audience first. I mean, that's just my take. And my thing on the pretty people. In Graceland, they have nothing but pretty people, but they're badasses. So if they're making badasses, I don't have a problem with it.
That's true.
Ollie's pretty badass. All right, we got a bunch of random stuff to talk about here. Some comic book news for this week. New York Comic Con is this weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
I thought con season was over. I guess not.
New York Comic Con runs late.
Local con season's over.
No, pretty much the real con season is done.
Charlie.
New York Comic Con kind of wraps it up, especially for comic books. I think
Or starts it up really early.
Yeah, I think a year or two ago, it's actually November.
Whoa.
So this was a list of rumored DC creative teams that are going to be announced at San Diego Comic-Con. New York Comic-Con. I'm hesitant to kind of read this because I think it's a lot of bullshit, but I think it's a somewhat interesting list, and maybe...
Hey, we can quote on random
some of these
shit.
are possible.
That might not be true.
Well, this was posted on 4chan and brought over to Bleeding Cool. The guy works for the Reed Pop Center, which is the people that put on the New York Comic Con and other conventions. So, I mean, it's possible this is all bullshit, but some of these sound somewhat possible. DC's going to have a lot of new books coming out because they have to go back up to their magical 52 number, or at least they're going to try. And, I don't know if you heard last week when we were talking about all the Marvel teases. Marvel's going to announce 5,000 new books at Comic-Con.
Hey, we're all the luckier for it, Ryan. Hey, so whatever happened to those rumors about they were going to add 4 different weekly titles of all of their hottest franchises?
That is one of the books on this list.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, some of these I think are more likely than others. Shazam by Jeff Johns with Doug Monkey on art. I think that's a pretty good possibility.
Love Shazam.
The backup was pretty successful.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it.
Plastic Man by Gail Simone and Ethan Van Sciver. That's a rumor that's been thrown around for a while now.
That's like a 10-year-old rumor.
It feels like they've been throwing that rumor around
that's not
forever.
happening.
So I don't know. Sinestro Corps with Matt Kint and Tyler Kirkham. Sinestro Corps is getting his own book, or they're getting their own book. I mean, this has already been announced.
Crazy that they did Red Lanterns before Sinestro Corps.
Well, Sinestro was in Green Lantern at the time.
Is it just
I know,
replacing
but
the Red Lantern?
spoiler alert: Batman's in more than one book, so
it's not.
No, like Sinestro was a front runner in the Green Lantern book.
Yeah, for the first 4 issues.
No, for the first 2 story arcs.
No, you're wrong, Brock.
Johns.
Yeah, until the end of Johns, he was literally in there.
Okay, stop beating up on me.
Yeah, because these are these titles are going to replace Green Team and the Movement and Stormwatch and
no shit, they're going to replace Green Team in the Movement.
There's a book called Green Team.
Exactly.
And a few
Is
others.
it Captain Planet?
No.
Green Team and the who's what's it?
The Movement?
Martian Manhunter by Matt Kint and Marco Rudy, and I believe Matt Kint's the one writing the backup, if I'm correct, in Justice League America.
Sounds right, but I'm not sure.
The Question by Ray Fox and Kradunsky. Again, I don't see why they wouldn't have a question ongoing because they have the other two, Trinity and Sin, have their own. So these are all. You start to get a little bit weird after those. Those I think are, except for maybe Plastic Man, I could all see as being very possible.
Weirder than the Movement and Green Team?
No. Booster Gold ongoing by Dan Jurgens, writing and art, bringing back.
Wait, Dan Didio's writing?
No, Dan Jurgens,
thank
writing
God.
and art.
Listen, Brock.
Which
He slurred.
I think is a possibility. The previous series was pretty well received.
I really enjoyed it.
They're bringing Booster Gold back into the New 52 universe after he sort of disappeared.
About effing time.
Well, no, he was back briefly in All-Star Western when he fucked up where Jonah was, and now Jonah's in the present.
Which is awesome.
2 or 3 issue arc.
Not the Booster Gold part, but the Jonah in the present is awesome.
It's awesome.
Red Robin by Tony Bedard and Marcus Toe, and I believe Marcus Toe was rumored to be on a Marvel book that we mentioned last week, so that's more than likely not correct. But I'm surprised Robin does not have his own book, so I'm less, I think still sort of possible. The Others, which is the Aquaman spinoff team, by John Ostrander.
Could be good.
Maybe.
Wait, I'm sorry. There's an Aquaman spin-off team?
Yeah. Aquaman was kind of part of this other team called the Others. This was
it called
the
the Fish Talkers?
No.
Was it called the Other Lamest Superheroes Ever?
It's called The Others from Lost.
Yeah.
That Other Island. What a great show.
Now, this one, I would love.
That was Network.
Who knows if it's going to be true? Probably not, but who knows?
Hey,
Titans.
Lost was Network. Look at their budget.
Okay. Next week.
Titans, featuring the classic Teen Titans roster, with the exception of Wally West.
What about Nightwing?
By James Tynion the fourth. It should be, if he's on that. Doom Patrol by Tom Taylor and Chris Sprouse. That would be awesome. Cyborg by Kevin Griveau. And a Superman weekly team with the first arc.
Wasn't Cyborg a launch title at first? No.
It
wasn't?
No. And then a Superman weekly book, Retaining Creative Teams, first arc by Jeff Johns and Jeff Lemire. So, those are... I think a few of these are pretty likely. I think a few of them are pretty big stretches, but yeah. One of the...
I'm voting for Donna Troy.
Well, they had some creative team changes as well. One of them being John Layman on Catwoman. And we actually had... they announced it. Francis Manapool and Buccioletto are taking over Detective Comics, and this is official. And then there's rumors of basically DC swapping all the creative teams, kind of the way Marvel did with Marvel Now, basically on like a lot of their books.
Yeah, just less cool.
Well, but I mean, it's cool depending on the. I'm
just trolling. Keep going.
It's less cool if we're just going to randomly fire a bunch of creators because of some no reason, and then but if there's actually like a plan to it, like with Marvel Now, I feel like okay, there's a plan. We've had a lot of these guys in these books for so long. With DC, some of these writers will be in the book for like 2 months, and they're going to get switched off.
Not to mention, I don't like the Marvel shifting around. Like Avengers to X-Men kind of felt like a
natural,
fair kind of
about time
jump. Like it doesn't feel like you're downgrading the profile of the book. But going from detective to Catwoman,
yeah,
that's like getting demoted.
When he's been doing phenomenal on Detective.
Well, and if there's these big switches, does that mean Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder are off Batman? Unlikely, because Greg Capullo just said he signed on for another 25 issues of Batman.
How's that?
Well, he meant another Batman title because they have to do.
Maybe.
Yeah. How's that Nightwing comic going?
Nightwing's good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think it's like it's a weird. Some of these are possible. Some of them I think are just kind of weird rumors. I don't buy most of them, but we'll see. But there is actually one other creative team that's going to get switched off, and it's Scott Snyder and Jim Lee on Superman Unchained. And it's apparently they're writing 9 issues, and then apparently that's as long as the book's going to get published. They're not going to publish it after that.
What?
Well, he responded on Twitter that the first arc is 9 issues.
Yeah, but Jim Lee's kind of response to that after was, yes, it's a 9. Like that's it. It's just 9 issues.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that, but you'd think they would.
He said specifically the arc in his response.
I will check this, but I'm pretty sure what I read.
He didn't confirm whether or not the book was going on past the arc.
Right. No,
specifically said arc in
his
response.
Yeah,
While Ryan's looking that up, should we talk about some good stuff like some Marvel books?
Well, the story arc is 9 issues.
They completely ignored
Well, someone asked, is Superman Unchained ending after 9 issues? And his reply was, the story arc is 9 issues. Yes. That yes implies, yes, it is ending after 9 issues.
I'm not saying it's not ending after 9 issues. I'm just saying the way he froze that response. Froze. It's frozen forever on the internet.
Okay.
Jim Lee is Captain Cold.
Okay.
Jeff Johns would have it that way.
Yeah.
We'll
see. We'll see what happens.
Anyway, that's an exciting list, Ryan. That's very exciting.
Yeah,
do we have any exciting shakeups in the Marvel HQ?
No, Marvel's been pretty rock solid.
Oh yeah, they haven't been pretty rock solid, haven't they?
We got that.
In fact, they haven't canned any creators or as many creators for bullshit reasons as DC has. Correct?
Well, most of the creators who have left DC walked off the books, which is even worse, mind you.
Yeah.
Good argument.
Well, I think what kind of happens is that I think what happens with a lot of these guys is that Marvel has done a better job of kind of moving them on to other titles. In DC, it sounds like that's sort of what they want to try to do. If this whole shuffle thing is accurate.
Well, you're mostly right. I mean, Marvel's done a better job at everything.
Yeah. Specifically in the case of keeping creators around in the Marvel Now stuff. And they have done a very good job. There's been very little writer switch over. There's been, the artist is clearly because they do a lot of these 18 issues.
They only have 6 writers?
No. There's a lot more than 6 writers.
Stop trying to stir controversy.
I'm like, Hickman?
Oh, Jesus. Are you talking shit about Marvel?
Yeah,
Aaron?
Oh, God.
Okay, so that's 5.
Okay.
That's
Bendis?
like 6 books. Okay, that's like
Brock,
8 books.
stop being like a S.H.I.E.L.D. episode.
No, the fact is,
They publish like 60 books. They have other writers.
each publisher has their main writers that people love, like Jeff Johns,
Brian
Gail
Wood.
Simone, etc.
Hold on.
DC.
You have Brian Wood and Charles Soule, and I'm just looking from here, and Matt Kint does some work for him, and what's the heck is the guy's name that's doing X-Force, and
Humphreys.
Peter, huh?
Humphreys.
Yeah.
Okay, are
Sam
we
Humphreys.
really dignifying this with an answer? He's just trolling.
I know.
Exactly. Shit.
God, can we go on and talk about how awesome Marvel's been? By the way, Thor
that's trolling right there.
Thor God of Thunder. Boom.
Yeah,
how did they get such another good artist?
Yeah, that
where
arc
did he
has
come?
been really good.
What is even his name? I was like, when I didn't see Ribic on it, I was like, oh God, let's see how this goes. But it was amazing.
Yeah. No, that first issue of the story arc, even the transition issue where they show the different Thors in different time periods.
I even loved the transition issue.
Yeah, Aaron's knocking it out of the park with Thor.
Is it just Ron Garney?
Did I read the Thor?
Yeah, do you know what did he do before?
I want to ask Brock something. Just
Am I
because,
trolling?
No,
Okay.
no.
Yes,
I have
Ron
a better
Garney.
question for you, Brock.
Okay.
Oh God.
Did you hear about the 6th gun hardcover coffin?
No.
It's supposed to be bigger than an absolute.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
How does your wife feel about that, Charlie?
Well, she let me buy the Wolverine book.
Yeah, she'll let him buy that.
Dude, that looks sick.
I don't know how in the hell
I'm
we
not
got
even a
off.
huge
We got
Wolverine
to
fan.
I only
That was
halfway
amazing.
listened to that conversation, and I just heard a lot of bad stuff.
Well, everyone needs to stop talking it over so the audience at home can understand what anyone is saying.
All right.
Thank you. All these comic books that came out, it doesn't matter because the only thing that matters to anyone is the publishing numbers for the top books of the month.
That's a great point.
Money's the only thing that matters. Doesn't matter how good or bad the books are. As we will note on the sales of the Villains Month titles, which sold amazingly well despite most of them being pretty underwhelming from everything I've heard.
Question.
I can name a lot that were good.
I'm not saying they weren't. I'm just
The general consensus.
Well, I would argue that the same amount of good books came out as came out the month before. It's just they had different weird titles.
Good point. I like how they mixed it up, and you're bound to get more. I mean, just straight up more, obviously.
Yeah.
But with that, you're going to get a lot of good, and that's going to mean more good.
Yeah.
But a lot of crap, which means more crap, but we're not measuring that. But what I'm curious about
It's called Bizarro, by the way. The crap.
Yeah, Shudder. How about Two-Face? How awesome was Two-Face?
Two-Face was great.
Okay. So are we talking in terms of percentage numbers or dollars numbers?
well
In terms of greatness
both
and
were.
improvement.
Well, in the month of September, because DC had the Villains Month, their numbers were going to be up. Then they double shipped because they had the 2D covers, which are counted technically as separate titles because that's the way these things are counted. All right, I mean it's a separate SKU.
It's a separate.
price
they only,
point, separate.
I mean, there are points where Diamond will combine books when it's originally solicited as one title. So, like, variants get rolled in. And, like, Walking Dead. Like, Walking Dead that's going to come out is going to have...
this week? Yeah.
It's going to have, like, 13 covers or 15 covers or something. No, it's something ridiculous.
Do they normally do that if it's a matter of... Because my big thing with the 2D versus 3D is they're technically different prices.
Right, and I think that has to do with it as well.
Yeah.
So in this case, since they are different prices, different SKUs, and solicited later, they are considered completely separate items, giving DC a total domination over the entire comic industry.
Did they take the market share?
Oh, of course. I mean, the dollar share was 40.39%. Unit share was 45.17%.
Oh,
so for every 10 comics, 4.5 of them were DC that were sold to comic stores in the month.
Right, so...
And this is like New 52 number 1 numbers. However, this is only because that it's this high is because of the 2D covers adding on top of the 3D covers. Now, the 3D covers were going to do good. They were going to sell a shitload. But they sold a shitload plus more because of the 2D covers, despite being returnable. So,
quick question. Serious question.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Marvel every 2 years have 1 month, or more frequently or less frequently, whatever, have 1 month where they ship 4 times as many books, like they did with the New 52 number ones, and they did 2 years later with the Villains Month? I mean, they're effectively shipping 4 times as many for a 1 month period, but everybody understands because it's just 1 month at a time.
Well,
every
Marvel,
2 years.
because Marvel wins 12 months out of 12 these days.
I know, but they
always
couldn't
have.
they also do that and just like crush one
Yeah.
1 month? I mean, okay, so however much they win or don't win, but I'm just saying, like, so at first I hated the idea of Villains Month, but I'm so jealous that I didn't get, I guess Magneto's a hero now, so that's a bad example. Who's a good, I don't know, like Loki #1 would have been an awesome book.
Marvel will occasionally blatantly steal right out from under DC, and DC does it to Marvel too. I'm not saying it's not.
Thank you very much.
This seems like something that I'm surprised Marvel didn't jump right on. I would think this would be, but given Marvel, they would also publish in normal titles as well. I would almost guarantee you they'll do something very similar to this. Maybe not with the cover stuff, but I could see a Villains Month type thing at Marvel. It'd be great. I mean, Marvel has some fantastic villains, and I totally think they should do it.
I wish. Can you tell us how the numbers shook down?
Well, yeah, I mean, DC's at 40% of the dollar share, and Marvel's at 28%. I mean, it's normally not that different. I mean, Marvel will usually have a couple points on DC. The last time this happened, it was like New 52 #1. And Marvel shortly after that came back. DC had a couple months, but Marvel for the most part has been big. And obviously with stuff like Infinity selling, all these big crossovers because of the variants and the incentive sell a shit and a half load of copies.
Oh, did Infinity start selling more? Because I know that Infinity #1, you said that Infinity #1 did not sell as well as we were expecting, which I took to mean
for the store.
Oh God,
Of course, Infinity #1 sold like 250,000 copies.
Damn your DC loving store, Brian.
No. The problem with something like Infinity is Diamond covers what was ordered, not what sold from the store. So it could mean that all these stores were stuck with the villain issues, but the orders were high.
Got it.
Yeah, and Marvel does the bump for incentives for if you order this many you get this variant. If you order this many you get this variant.
Well, and what Marvel does a lot that DC doesn't do is that so if you order, say, all new X-Men #1, right? If you order 100% of all new X-Men #1 that you did, like Avengers vs. X-Men #12, right? Because I'm sure this was part of the incentive. If you order 100% of what you order, so if you get 100 copies of AVX-12 and then you order 100 copies of all new X-Men, you get 5% off your order for X-Men. If you order 110%, you get 10% extra off your order. If you order 125%, you get another 10% off that.
That's amazing. That's great business.
Right. And then the Marvel does this with a lot of their books and a lot of their #1s where there eventually becomes a point where you kind of have to reset. But if you've only ordered a little bit, you can order all these books and you basically get a shitload for free that you could do whatever you want with. And they would cost the same as ordering less. And sometimes it would actually cost more to order less because you're not hitting these crazy incentive discounts. And it moves units, and the dollar share is based off the standard discount, not off this discount of
the chain discount.
Right, exactly. So it ends up it's a terrible game that the companies play, and
it's a great game.
I hate it.
Well, they're trying to slowly bump the numbers up.
Is it even based on discount at all, or is it just based on like retail price?
Retail unit, right? Retail
because even
amount.
then,
right.
If I recall with Diamond, depending on how much you order and stuff, you get different discounts.
Right. It's based on retail dollar.
Right, and so also another question is with regards to the numbers, how they reflect what you ordered or what you got.
Which is why Marvel and DC variant covers have a retail dollar amount listed on them, and a lot of independent companies don't, because that actually affects Marvel and DC's dollar amount and share. So if you look on the variants, they actually have a retail like cover price.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yep.
So, did they, when they were shipped, when they have these numbers, did they do it based on numbers that you ordered? Because as far as I recall, didn't you order more sort of assuming that you would get sort of slightly undershipped? And you've even said a couple times that
of the
you
villain
probably would have been like out way more money if you'd gotten 100% of all of your 3D orders.
I got shorted way less. I'm sorry, I got shorted way more 3D covers than I ordered 2D covers. So had they shipped me 100% of the orders of 3D covers, I think DC's numbers would have been higher. Because I got shorted maybe, I'm going to ballpark 50% of my order, right, for 3D covers. Right. So if I ordered 10,000, I got 5,000 covers total, or copies total between all the books. I mean, it's not that, but let's just use that as a number.
Except for Joker's daughter.
Well, no, but I'm just across the board. Total books for the month, right? Yeah. 52 titles.
Right.
Let's say I got 100 of each, but I actually ordered 200 of each, right?
Right.
Well, I didn't order 100 each of the 2D covers. I ordered like 10, 15, 20 of the 2D covers. You know, Joker's Daughter, a perfect example. I ordered a lot of those, and we sold a lot of the 2D covers, but most of them I didn't. So DC actually shot themselves in the foot and could have had way more of a dollar in unit share, plus way more money cash in their hand, had they printed all those books.
Had they fulfilled the actual order.
This is so fascinating.
It's a weird. It's all a numbers game, and it kind of drives me a little bit nuts. But I understand why people are so excited.
Yeah, you should see him when he's in the previews for Marvel and he's trying to figure out the Marvel math. His brain starts to like,
Yeah. Oh, it's the only time he doesn't want to talk to me about WoW when I come into the store.
Well, look, because we're comparing September 2013 versus August 2013, right? I mean, they shipped 30% more comics. Compared to 2012, they shipped 27% more comics, and that's 0 month for DC. That shows you how little 0 month affected it and how much Villains Month affected it.
Well, there was also a ton of marketing around the new 52 number ones and Villains Month, and I didn't see
much less so
comparatively as much marketing around Zero Issue.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's partly due to the fact that they didn't fully print they didn't fully get the print run done. Because we were pushing it early on. We were like special order your sets, get all this stuff done. Like stores were gearing up for this, and then the ball was kind of dropped.
Well, here, and I'll tell you,
right.
I'll give you a couple things here on how much incentives matter at the end of the day. Okay, because I'm going to read you the top 10, but really the top 7 comics of September. Okay, number 1 is Forever Evil. Number 1. Number 2 and 3 is Infinity 2 and 3. Now, they had discounts, but they didn't have quite as insane discounts. So Infinity's still doing very, very well. I mean, my numbers are not that good, but industry-wide, obviously Infinity is going to be a big hit. But hold on, number 4 is X-Men Battle of the Atom. We have 3 Marvel books before any of the Villains Month. And I'll tell you, my orders for the Villains Month, every single book was ordered at higher numbers than every single Marvel book. Now, fill number is different, right? Because they obviously couldn't fill all of these numbers. But I am blown away that none of the villains covers were the top 4 books of the month.
And that's for your store, which is DC heavy.
Well, this is industry-wide.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I would have had it would have been Forever Evil. I would have had 5 or 6 books tied at the number 1 spot because I ordered the same quantity on all those. And then a bunch of other books had they filled in their full quantity, and then Infinity and Battle of the Atom. I actually ordered way more Battle of the Atom than Infinity 2 and 3.
Battle of the Atom 1?
Yeah, the one shot.
Great book.
Yeah, pretty good.
We'll get to that. It's talk track later.
Well, but number 5 is Batman Joker, right? Number 6, surprisingly, is Batman Riddler. I guess because it's actually written by Snyder, so I think people ordered that. But I actually would have figured Harley or some of the other ones would have. But I guess the fill quantity on that was really low. Number 7. Now, here is where incentives are king.
Bring it.
What book released last month? It's a number 1. It's from Marvel. Was the number 7 title of the month?
Give us multiple choice.
Okay. What books were released last month?
Yeah, great question. That's why I can't think of
Mighty Avengers.
It was. I bet it was Mighty Avengers.
Well, I'm actually thinking there are also the Superior month was last month, wasn't it?
No.
No.
Oh yeah, with Team Up and all that. That wasn't.
It's not that book because he didn't know what we're talking about. So it's
look, it was either Hunger or Mighty Avengers.
Hunger was the month before.
Okay, then I bet it was Mighty Avengers because it's tied in with the whole Avengers brand.
Infinity.
It is Mighty Avengers.
Oh, Bryce won.
Mighty Avengers.
Okay.
Number 1, like, that's not going to break the top 100 by issue 3, okay? But because of the incentives were so strong on that book, people ordered a shitload of that book. Okay. Now, I ordered... it is the lower 10% of Marvel books that I order on a number 1, and I did not sell out.
Did you order more than 30?
No.
Did you order more than 20?
No.
Did you? Holy shit! Did you order more than 10?
Yes.
Okay.
I sold maybe 5 or 6 copies.
Get out of town.
And this is a top 7 book. Now, Forever Evil number 1, Infinity 2 and 3, Battle of the Atom, Joker, Riddler, Bane, all the ones in the top 10 here. Avengers 19's up there too. I mean, we're talking 100 copy orders for the store.
I like Greg Land though. Greg Land is legit.
But
I like him.
But Mighty Avengers,
like
I will guarantee you, Mighty Avengers like 3, 4, and 5 are like maybe in the top 50 or 60, and then plummet beyond that. I mean, we're talking the
That's
8th.
Okay. It will still be above Fearless Defenders.
It probably will. But I am Fearless
And
Defenders.
Wolverine
Fearless Defenders
store.
now. Now that Morbius is over, Fearless Defenders is now my lowest ordered book. 1 copy of an ongoing Marvel title. I get 1 copy of Fearless Defenders.
But
on the
it
shelf.
has such nice covers.
And I get none. I have no subscribers for it.
Just wait till I get a raise, Ryan. Then you'll have 2.
It blows me away how crappy some of these books sell.
Does it really blow you away, Ryan?
There was a time when
it doesn't blow you away.
There was a time when I was in the store as a manager and running it and as an employee where the minimum on any Marvel title was 20 to 30 copies. I would sell 20 or 30 copies of any book Marvel published.
That's ridiculous. What was the minimum on DC books?
10 or 12 maybe.
Okay, so you're saying is it...
but DC still is 10 or 12. DC has not changed.
Well...
Green Team and Movement aside, that's...
Well, yeah. Those are givens.
Those are in their own world.
What about Aquaman, Seahorse, Psychic Team?
I think if Aquaman had the others, I could sell 20 of those. I think.
No, but that wasn't his question. He wanted to know if you could sell the Aquaman Seahorse.
The Seahorse. Yes.
The Aquaman pet team.
Look, so what do you attribute that to? Sign of the change of the times.
I think the days of the Marvel Zombie are long gone. I mean, by the mid '90s they were long gone, but now
we're
they're
still here, Ryan.
Now they're totally gone.
Well, I would also say that there's been a general shift because of stuff like Image basically improving their image again.
I see what you did there.
Well, Image is up to even despite all this, Image is still like 7% of the market share during Villains Month, and which is huge.
Look,
huge.
We can't all have 20% of our entire brand resting on Batman's shoulders.
Oh, I totally understand that. That's a huge problem. I'm not saying it's not.
But Batman's fucking awesome. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I just think at this point the branding of comics has become less yes, I agree with you. Batman will always sell, Spider-Man will always sell, Superman will always sell a certain amount. I mean, there are certain characters that have a built-in audience at this point that will always sell. That doesn't translate to Fearless Defenders, but there was a time when Marvel as a brand carried that same weight, just like DC as a brand carried a certain amount of weight, that I think at this point the brand has sort of been removed from the equation because so much weight has started to be sort of shifted towards now Image carries a certain amount of weight. And
yeah, that's a great point. And it's like you said in a podcast or two ago, Ryan, I mean, Invaders is coming out. I mean, the clock's already ticking on that one.
Yeah,
Issue 1 hasn't even hit the stands.
I mean, as of right now, Marvel publishes about 60 books a month, 65 books a month or something like that.
More than 52.
Well, DC publishes way more because of Vertigo and the other stuff. DC publishes about 75 maybe.
And they got the digital ones.
But I'm looking at about 10 books that I order sub 10 copies of. And basically at that point there is no reason for me to not sell out of every book. I shouldn't stock any of those books on the shelf. I still do, but I really shouldn't because I need to sell out of all of them. DC has let's say about 5 or 6 outside the kids' books. Vertigo, Max, those things kind of are separate a little bit. But yeah, I mean, when you're talking your core universe titles, the low end is lower than it's ever been. The high end is high. The high end is the highest it's been in years. It's this weird. it's just it's stretching so far apart where everyone wants the big books and no one wants the little books. I mean, all those casual fans or the hardcore fans of a company are completely gone.
So what do you have to say about with respect to the sort of the spectator coming in, or is that the right word? The
speculator.
Oh wow, Bryce. Yes, the speculator coming in and recreating the '90s for us. I mean, is that something that has always been there, sort of under the surface, and it's the same as it's always been and always will be, or is that something that's been picking up recently with the variants becoming much more trendy in the past decade or half decade?
I would say the last 5 years it's been coming back. The last 3 years it's been coming on really strong.
So annoying.
But a large part of that just has. See, I always attribute what happened in the 90s to the idea of all these comics that people had suddenly were worth money, and you kept hearing these numbers for like the first appearance of Spider-Man or the first appearance of Superman, and all of a sudden people were literally being able to sell a single comic and potentially buy a house at the time.
Not in California.
Yeah.
At the time, I'm pretty sure you probably could if you sold it.
Oh, at the time. Yeah. Okay.
But
now I just feel bad.
My point basically is we're reaching that point again because of people hear how much Walking Dead #1's now selling for. And
right.
People hear how much Peter Panzerfaust is suddenly selling. It's just it's that same speculation of I can spend $1 and make.
Well, what's really happened, especially in more recent years, is that because of the low end is so low, when something hits, the print runs on these things could be literally a couple thousand copies.
Yeah.
You go back to the 90s, your small press stuff is still going to have pretty low print runs, but anything published from a top 10 company is going to have 50,000 copies or less. There'd be no point of publishing. You wouldn't get orders less than that. I mean, the crappiest comic is still going to sell 20 copies in every store because it was like $1.
But it's also because a lot of those would be #1s where people, again, were looking for that next Superman #1, that next Spider-Man #1, that... I mean,
but not even that. I mean, you go back to the mid late 80s. Yeah, you had the speculator market really starting to kick in at that point, but a lot of these books, well into the runs, were selling. Your average order, your average high end was 250,000 copies. Now it's 100,000 copies.
Now,
I mean, it's a different market.
One thing I'm curious about, and I don't think we've ever necessarily talked about this in depth, but given the fact that #1s had such a huge print run back then, and like even #2 still carried a certain amount of print run based on potentials off of #1s.
Yeah.
But do you feel like they were trying to even introduce new characters faster in existing books?
Well, yeah. I mean, you had Marvel and DC with their annuals introducing all new characters solely to sell someone that, you had the new Starman and you had Hitman, and that was it. Like, there were no other characters.
I mean, Joker's daughter, perfect example.
Sure. Exactly.
How batshit crazy do people go on that?
So I got a question for you, Bryce.
Oh.
What do you think of, speaking of #1s, what do you think of Marvel, I don't know if you've heard this, basically renumbering all their books again to #1?
I actually listened to your podcast that I'm not on, Ryan, so I heard last week when you mentioned all the new #1s.
Yeah.
Cheeky answer aside.
All these books are basically getting sub-numbering all new Marvel now #1. I think that's what...
So let me give you my... So I love it and I hate it. And let me explain to you why. So the reason that I hate it, which is a much smaller, more petty reason that I hate it, is because... those #1s only ever meant anything because they were #1s, and it was like, they always say #1. It was like when they used to have every 25 issues an anniversary issue, and that goes away when you have #1s all the effing time. So I'm not a speculator personally, so I don't give up.
But look at Mighty Avengers. I mean, clearly it still works. I don't know why. I don't know who.
No. But you said yourself that was because of incentives, not necessarily because of #1.
But they're not going to incentivize to that level on a number 10 or 12 or 25 or 50. It's only #1s that people bite.
So my reason that I like it is Mighty Avengers is a great example of, it's a fine example of it, is that, look, I think that the days of the #1 being worth so much I think that they're gone. I think that those are books that are as older than we are. And those are going to be the books that are only ever the most expensive, and there's going to obviously be some exceptions. But that right now, we talked about it. I don't even know if it was a year or two ago. We talk about it here and there. Is they should just do a 12-issue or 24-issue miniseries, and then they should restart, and they should do it because it's more digestible. People can buy number ones and jump in. They can buy number two and I really like that, and buy the number one if it's not so rare. You can't jump into Action Comics 587 because what? Where do I jump in?
But that's bullshit because what was your first comic book? I guarantee you it was X-Men 294 or something like that. Everyone's first comic was.
It doesn't. So that is half correct.
Most people's first
You're
comic
half
book.
correct. I'm sure that it was. What doesn't matter, though, about that is that the one that I remember is X-Force number 1. So sure, I jumped into X-Men 287. It doesn't matter. Like, this new X book came out in a number 1, and I was like, oh my god, it's a number 1. It's more digestible for me to get introduced to the universe.
But even X-Force number 1 was New Mutants 101, so
but it doesn't matter, and that's what I'm saying is that look, you're trying to get in new buyers, your new audience. Make them number 1. They're not going to be valuable. They're going to be digestible. That's why why DC rebooted their entire run. It was not to make them more valuable, but to get greater access to new readers.
Of course.
Well, I think the difficult part, especially with the releasing the number ones, they've done it so much that it's a good jumping on point for people. But I think that now with just the amount of material that we have, people can jump on anywhere.
That's a great problem to have.
And that's the thing is we didn't necessarily have the trades for people to jump on back in the day, but now we have trade, like read this trade, and it's not even a number 1 trade. It's the standalone Hush that you can read, or it's Planet Hulk that you can just read, or all of this stuff that you just hand the person and say you can read this because it's a
Long
story.
Halloween.
Yeah, Long Halloween. A lot of people I think are just going to a lot of people are going to jump on nowadays to a story, not necessarily an issue. Oh, it's a new number. It's a new number 1. It's not a number 1.
Yeah. Well. We're actually running way later than I wanted to here anyway. So Charlie actually had to take off here a little bit early. So everyone say bye to Charlie. Bye, Charlie.
I'm done. Fuck this shit.
He dropped the mic.
Can we
Slamming
do
the
one
door.
question since we talked so much about stuff that people didn't care to hear from us?
Yeah, we were in way longer than I meant to. I'll pull one question out of here.
Make it a good one. Make it a...
Can we actually kind of answered a few of these? Wait, let's go back to the TV show. We actually didn't talk about this. I thought we did, but apparently we didn't. It's from Raymond, who asks, "What do you guys think of the upcoming Gotham TV show on Fox?" I swear we talked about this, but someone else told me we didn't.
There's a Gotham TV show?
Yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned it. You didn't talk about it.
There's a show. They picked up a show called Gotham. It's going to be based around young Jim Gordon, and we don't know nothing about it. And this hasn't been cast, hasn't been written, hasn't been anything.
It's going to be on Fox.
It's going to be a TV. It's going to be a TV show about Jim Gordon on Fox. So it's going to be amazing.
It is going to be amazing.
It's going to be Gotham Central.
That's what a lot of people are hoping.
But
awesome.
then in Gotham Central, Jim wasn't there.
He was.
No, he was.
He was
Not
around.
till later. He wasn't even the commissioner, though.
Huh?
It was a new lady that was a commissioner.
Well, I mean, it took place in the current timeline of Batman at the time when that took place. Yeah, he was not the commissioner at the time, but yes, a Gotham Central style show. But this is going to be like young Jim Gordon, so rising through the ranks and everything like that, which I'm cool with.
They still could borrow a lot of material from Gotham Central.
Yeah, well, they're
Central.
gonna have. I mean, it sounds like they're gonna have no Batman, but younger takes on the villains, and you can have Oswald Cobblepot, and you can have the DA, Harvey Dent running around. I mean, you can have these guys be characters and see their descent, and I think that could be great.
Oh, I'm so excited for it when I heard about it. My only problem is that it'll just never be Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Who
be young
just
Gary
killed
Oldman.
it so well. Yeah, young Gary Oldman. Where are you going to find him on Fox? It's not gonna happen. But I mean, I wish that would be just too awesome that it's not going to happen. But I'm still excited.
At least it's not being called the Young Adventures of Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried with all these superhero shows or comic book tie-ins coming in.
And Constantine. I don't know.
Yeah,
Did we even mention Constantine?
Constantine is coming too.
Yeah, John Constantine is going to have his own TV show.
Yeah, but I'm really worried. I'm really worried that we're going to come. I mean, I was into basketball, and I like basketball cards, and all of a sudden there were like 20, 30 different sets a year, and all of a sudden nobody gave a shit about basketball cards anymore. I'm really, really worried that they're putting too much out.
They're going to oversaturate the market. Yeah.
I'm a little worried.
Well, look, I mean, you have, is it NBC, I believe, for Constantine?
I think so. I don't know.
No way.
I don't look it up.
NBC?
I think it was NBC.
Wow. Constantine I really hoped was a cable show, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Fox will have Gordon, CW will have Arrow and Flash. So that's 3 of the kind of 5 more major, low-number networks having DC shows, promoting DC properties. I mean, that's their goal. If they could have it on ABC and CBS, I'm sure they would. Yeah. So if they have more shows.
I'll do half of that and get a nice 100 bullets on like Stars or AMC.
No, what I wouldn't mind is if they did a rotation. So you know how HBO does their rotation where Game of Thrones is on and then it's off, and then
I guarantee you they'll be placed in such a fashion that there's always kind of one on. I guarantee.
Can we just have a Vertigo hour on like AMC or
Vertigo hour? That would be awesome.
I'd just be down for that. Sign me up for that.
We can watch the real Fables.
Yeah, just the Witching Hour. Yeah, just short anthologies of all their characters. That'd be awesome. That'd be amazing.
We could do By the Last Man for a season. We could do, Fables, the real Fables. We could do 100 Bullets. We could do fucking Sandman.
Yeah. Maybe we could have Disney get the rights back from Fox and do X-Men Hour.
Well, like we were talking about before.
Good shows.
Yeah, actually kind of cool.
Yeah, like young Gambit.
Well, like we were talking about before, the problem is a lot of those rights between a lot of different characters. Not, stuff like Preacher and Transmen.
I had a lot of good memories of Fox and the X-Men cartoon. So I'm really down for a primetime X-Men show.
Oh.
Yes, I agree.
To this day, I wake up in cold sweats on Saturday mornings wishing that that's only half true.
Hey, as long as it's not done by ABC, it should be okay.
Oh God, ABC! What are they doing?
ABC's done good stuff. They've done Lost, and they got a couple of good ones.
That's all they've done.
All right, before we wrap up here, I got 2 quick things. One, if you guys remember last week, we talked about the Origins book and art print by Ninja Bot on Kickstarter.
Ninja Bot.
Can I talk about that?
Ninja Bot.
Those look amazing, by the way.
Cool. Yeah.
I knew I forgot to post something on
Ninja Bot.
Shit.
Go check them out. They're as geeky or as not as geeky as you want to interpret them, because you look at them and it's just like, they're really cool pictures, and only if you know the character's origins, really, do you sort of, it's, I don't want to say inside joke, but do you get the drawing or the print?
Right.
They did a really great job with them, and there was even like 1 or 2 that I was like what? Which one is that? And then it's obvious once you know, but if you just didn't know, then you're like, what is that? So I can, give those to my parents and they can hang them up.
They wouldn't know.
I won't be doing that. But
you gotta give it to people on the cover. Hey, look at this nice print.
No, but the prints are really cool. So Ryan talked about this last week. It was actually going on a couple months back. Ryan tweeted about it like months and months ago. But it's a really cool Kickstarter. You should at least look, because the prints are very cool looking.
Yeah, I spazzed in the first one. We were supposed to give out some of these the first time, but I have the worst memory ever. So we're getting. I was going to actually try to have some sort of contest for this week, but time ran short. So I think we'll do it next week. They actually have 10 days left as of right now. They're like
yay!
They're like less than $1,000 from their total, so they're gonna break it, no problem. Cool. But definitely go check these guys out. Give them some more. They have some stretch goals. And we'll have a couple prints to give away. Hopefully, I get that all
Bryce,
set up for next week.
Do you know anybody that totally hates like Green Arrow? Would you get like the Green Arrow print and see if they put it on the wall and it'd be like a running joke?
Is his print one of them? The only person that hates any comic book people might be my wife, because she's like, "Fuck, Bryce, do you have enough of that shit?"
You should put all these prints all over your wall. Go, hey, these are just beautiful artworks.
Maybe it's just modern art.
And then you got Omar coming on. Oh man, this is some awesome Green Arrow stuff. And she's like, "Oh, Bryce!"
Damn you, Omar!
And it should be up this Wednesday. I believe it's going up this Wednesday. I was on a very special episode of the Heroes and Villains podcast.
So if Charlie is on, it's just a normal episode, but when Ryan Higgins is on, it's a very special.
Very special. At heroesandvillains.libsyn.com. Charlie's been on. He talked about Galactus last time, I believe. I know.
Well, Charlie is Galactus. Let's just be real here.
I know our good friend Jordan over at the Infinite Long Box podcast, he was on talking about Shazam.
I can see that.
Captain Marvel. And was Jess on? I want to say Jess was on an episode. Now it's our turns. So I'm on featuring
New Warriors?
Way too long. Like an hour and a half long of us talking about Speedball. Okay?
I know how that feels.
How can you?
The way too long part.
How can you do that? An hour and a half on Speedball?
Oh man, we could have gone longer.
I could talk about Speedball for at least an hour. So Higgins, I can't even imagine. They probably had to cut him short. Like you guys had to cut me short.
They talked about Speedball for like 20 minutes and then Penance for the rest of the time.
Unfortunately, Penance does. I mean, he has to. It's Speedball at the end of the day. He gets a nice long segment. So
of hate, saturated.
It was definitely not one-sided. It was no-sided. Okay, no one was on Pennant's side. Let's put it that way. But that said, Heroes and Villains.libsyn.com, and I believe it's this Wednesday, so that would make this episode 39 if I'm looking at the list properly. So if not, I will update that. So check back, but check my Twitter or something. And we'll,
I like your Trogdor shirt, Ryan.
What's that?
Trogdor!
Oh, hell yeah. Trogdor's the best.
Yes.
But
is he the best?
He is.
Everything else. He's the Burninator.
You got to hear the song.
He's Burninating the village. Yes. For everyone else, though, you can find this episode and all our other episodes on...
I have a few things to say.
Oh, what's up?
I have my review of Earth 2 and actually read it on time if I wasn't puking.
Oh, shit. I have my review, too.
Are you coming next week?
I didn't even think about that.
You know, you guys Skype your own little review. We'll put up on YouTube.
Should we just do it next week?
Spazzed.
I can't do my... We don't have enough time.
Next week.
No, he's not going to be here.
Take like...
How about this? How many Omar? No, which one's this?
Yeah,
Charlie's? Who is this?
Omar's.
Is this Omar? How many?
Okay,
Omars?
I can do it in less than 60 seconds.
Okay, go for it.
So I did like it. I feel bad not giving it more stars since I really respect Omar and his choices. I think that at the end of the day, Quietly and Morrison have better stuff available.
Yes,
is one thing.
I'm just going to do the review with you. Yes, I agree.
Okay, sounds good. I know that, and so listening to you guys' reviews was great because
I didn't listen yet. I was in the bathroom.
TMI. Because it turned me on to a whole bunch of things that I didn't consider when I was reading. So I didn't like how little action there was. You guys did a great job of pointing out that, hey, bro, it's not about the action. And so that probably raised it up higher than it was. I would probably give it 7.5 Omars out of 10, maybe 8. Okay. I would probably originally have given it, fewer than that. Except that you guys made some great points. At the end of the day, I really want to like Grant Morrison more, but he does so much stuff with Quietly, and I just can't. I don't like Quietly.
You know that you want a desk of a redwood base of a redwood tree in your office.
And that was another great thing you guys pointed out, is that he does those images so well. Because when I was reading it, I was like, that is a fucking sick desk. And then you guys pointed out on the episode, and I was like, yeah, that is a really cool desk. Anyway, so
that's where it should be podcasting.
There was no... I really liked what he did with like, oh yeah, evil can't win in this universe and good can't win in this universe. And so it was all very head trippy. I really did like that, but I sort of expect that from Morrison. Frank Quietly, I just don't like his art in general. So was it the best collaboration of theirs? No. Was there any action? No. Is Grant Morrison always awesome? I've come to sort of think yes. So anyway, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I certainly didn't hate it. So 7.5 to 8. Omar's.
Toby.
All right. I actually enjoyed the book more so than I do some of the other works. I actually could stand Frank Quietly. Is that right?
Yep.
Quietly's art for once. Not as I didn't hate
Quietly,
it.
Ryan.
I didn't hate it as
quietly.
I usually do. I like the detail in Grant Morrison's writing a lot. The whole heart on the other side, the mirror side. I kind of like that stuff.
That was great.
That was awesome. I only want to give it a 6.57 out of 10. I think there's better stuff out there. Out of things you recommend, that's not the first thing you grab from Morrison's run. So, although if I ever listen to Morrison talk about that book, it's probably going to be the best thing ever. Because Morrison is fantastic. Everything he talks about is just fantastic. Did you listen to Fat Man and Batman? He's talking about Wonder Woman?
Yeah, we all heard it.
Bloody fantastic.
It was bloody fantastic.
It is. Anyways, 7 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10. Omar's.
All right, sounds good.
Another quick thing, Tale of Sand. People, I really want you to actually, for people to actually buy this stuff, I want you to flip through it. Please flip through it. I don't want anybody mad at me. It's not a book anybody's expecting. It's very psychedelic trip. So
it's not available on digital.
Yeah, but it's still, if you go through a bookstore and you're going to read it,
if you go to a Barnes and Noble and
I highly recommend going to a Barnes and Nobles, and before you buy it, please flip through it. At least enjoy the art and make sure you actually want it before you buy it. I really don't want anybody to be actually mad at me. It's a fantastic read. It's definitely different than any book that's out there, but I don't want somebody to buy it and go, what the fuck, Toby? So I want to just put that warning out there. It really is it's different than a comic book.
We would just get a shit ton of used copies sent to us saying, we want credit at your store for the next comic book.
No, I want people to enjoy this book, but I don't want people to get mad at me and after they read and go, what the fuck? So it's a very, very, very different kind of story.
No, I picked part 3 of a trilogy for my book. Nobody's going to be upset with you more than me.
His trilogy costs $80.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, Tale of Sand. That's Toby's pick for next month, so we'll get a few weeks for that. www.geekbox.net. That's where you can find all our episodes, or comicsconspiracy.biz. Go there. Forums at geekbox.net. You can go there and talk to us. Contact page on the front page at geekbox.net. You send us an email, or at thecomicspiracy@geekbox.net. We're all on Twitter. I'm Ryan Higgins. Brock is Brock Sager. Mm-hmm. Omar is Comics and Decline. Hopefully he'll be back next week. Bryce is Larsen Bryce. It's a Bryce with a Y. I don't know if there's another way to spell it. Toby
there is, with an I.
B-R-I.
And it's Larsen with an E-N as opposed to an O-N. Because we're Danish and not Norwegian.
Okay.
Some history lessons.
Toby's Toby XI. Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. And
we're not there yet.
Okay,
and then, we all have random stuff we do. We got this. We got the Geekbox. Go make sure you go listen to them. As well as the Comedy Button, Good Job Brain, 2 other podcasts on our network.
Never mention us.
That's fine. I don't care. As well as the All Talk podcast, which is the community forum podcast. Go listen to them. Good stuff. We're getting there. Brock has his blog. Brock has his blog at conspiratorbrock.com. Omar has comicsanddecline.com. That's his blog. And Charlie has the Infinite Long Box podcast at infinitelongbox.com.
I want to tease something. There might be something really cool coming to the podcast of Charlie's. That's all I'm going to say.
Nice. Is it me? Am I going to be on it?
Maybe.
Oh, nice.
Why would they put you on the Infinite Long Box? You're not even caught up on reading.
My curiosity
very special guest.
They want to talk about comic books from last year that I just read.
No, so. I'm going to tease a little bit. He might be mad that I'm teasing it, but I'm going to tease. I'm not going to say what it is. Okay. But there might be some really cool things coming up. And,
by the way, that's not a teaser at all. He's going to be mad at you for telling you that they might be interested?
He might want to tease it himself.
Just worst
the fun
teaser
away
ever.
From him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm saying there might be some cool things
Fucking
you should pay
teasers.
attention.
Oh, look for that. All right, don't forget to catch that Heroes and Villains episode, talking about Speedball. It's good stuff. And the Ninja Bot art prints on Kickstarter. Go check them out.
Oh, I joined Tumblr.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Big news.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to mention that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
We'll get your Tumblr info next week.
Fine.
And, what's your Tumblr? TobyXI.tumblr.com?
Just TobyXI.
Yeah, go look at Toby's Asian porn.
My Asian nothing.
Yeah, your Asian nothing.
Absolutely
on
nothing
Tumblr.
posted.
Right.
But hopefully I'll post something.
Nice. We'll catch you all next week.